So you want to talk about a nightmare scenario. Let's say you're an American citizen. You know, you got your driver's license, you got your passport, you got your social security card, you got all that shit, right? Birth certificate, yada, yada. Let's say immigration arrests you and then deports you, even though you're an American citizen. That's like something out of a fucking nightmare, right? I mean, it's something out of a nightmare, even if you're not a U.S. citizen. But particularly if you are a U.S. citizen, you got to be fucking losing your mind, right? If something like that were to happen. Well, guess what? Listen to this. Ice in hot water. Dozens of U.S. citizens wrongfully deported in shocking immigration blunder. Now, that's where they're wrong. Is it actually a blunder? I don't think so. All right. Now, by the way, hang tight because you're about to learn a fact which is mind-boggling, which really puts in perspective just how bad it is, okay? Shocking report reveals over 70 Americans mistakenly removed from the country in a startling revelation. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has deported dozens of U.S. citizens over the years, raising serious concerns about civil rights violations and the integrity of immigration enforcement. According to a recent report highlighted by Migrant Insider, at least 70 American citizens were deported between 2015 and 2020. With hundreds more wrongfully arrested or detained by ICE agents, the findings come amid a surge in immigration raids, particularly in Southern California, where even legal citizens are reportedly being swept up in enforcement actions. So understand something. 70 Americans were deported. 70 Americans. This was in Trump's first term, when he wasn't even as radical, as extreme. This is his first term. I'll go on the record and say, I think already by this point, 6 months in his first year, he's already probably blown past the 70 number, because we've already covered a handful of these instances happening already. Right? There was an American citizen who didn't speak English. He spoke Mayan or something. And he was arrested and held for like 9 days. And his mom literally brought like his social security card and his birth certificate. And the judge saw it and said, there's nothing I can do right now. So they kept him locked up for over a week. What? There was that horrific story of a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old American citizen being deported. And the 4-year-old had cancer and was shipped out without medicine. What? Those are just two that we learned. We've learned about them arresting U.S. veterans, arresting U.S. Marshals. In those instances, it was just arrested. But that's also bad enough. Never mind arrested and then deported. How the fuck does that happen? Like, guys, this is literally why due process exists, right? Is you need to make sure, do I have the right person? But they don't care. They literally don't care. This is what I'm trying to get across to you, is they literally don't care. They were told by Stephen Miller, the old number was 1,200 minimum deportations per day, or arrests per day for ICE. Now they upped it to 3,000. You can only get to that number if you start rounding up innocent people all over the fucking place, including citizens. The idea that American citizens can be deported seems unthinkable, but that's exactly what has happened. The Government Accountability Office confirmed that between 2015 and 2020, ICE arrested 674 individuals who were potentially U.S. citizens. 674. Detained 121 of them and ultimately deported 70 people from the country. Migrant Insider emphasized that the actual number could be much higher, citing inadequate safeguards and record keeping by ICE. Why, ladies and gentlemen? Because as we always say, these are ICE Gestapo thugs. Now, a lot of these assholes are deputized Proud Boys and fascists from white nationalist groups. There was a picture that went viral of one of these ICE agents had a clear Nazi tattoo on his arm. They're covering their faces for a reason. They're in plain clothes for a reason. They're going to immigration courts, and even if a judge dismisses the case of an immigrant, they still round them up. They know what they're doing is illegal. They don't care. To get to 3,000 arrests per day, you have to go after all sorts of people who have no business being deported. None whatsoever. So this is wild. Again, this is a report on his first term. Right now, I bet we're way above that 70 number, way above the 674 arrested who were American citizens. All right, but I got more for you. This is from Cato. 65% of people taken by ICE had no convictions. 93% no violent convictions. 93%. So only 7% of the people who were taken by ICE are undocumented immigrant violent criminals. Only 7%. This is one analysis. I've seen other analyses that are even worse. That's like 99% are not undocumented immigrant violent criminals. 93%. So in other words, if you're going to take a Trump voter who's not too political and they just were duped into supporting Trump and, you know, they're not really crazy about all his ideas, but they were like, I like him better than Kamala. Take somebody like that, right? Usually when you talk to somebody like that, what they say is, yeah, Trump wants to do mass deportations, but he only wants to go after the illegal criminals, right? That's what they say. Well, as this shows right here, Cato, this is a right-wing outlet, right-wing think tank. 93% of these people are not violent criminals. So they're breaking up families. They're breaking up innocent families. All right, I got more for you. This is hard to read. Listen, like this hits hard. This is just a few of the things that we learned that ICE has been doing. In New Haven, Connecticut, masked ICE agents wearing no identification boxed in an immigrant woman's car as she left home to drive her kids to school, arresting her and leaving them sobbing on the sidewalk with their grandmother who had rushed out of the house as the arrest proceeded. In Houston, Texas, plainclothes officers detained and then deported the undocumented wife of an active duty Army sergeant after misrepresenting themselves as public safety officers and telling her that her car had been in an accident in the parking lot outside her work. The woman, Shirley Guardado, had been brought to America as a child more than a decade ago. In New Orleans, Louisiana, ICE agents detained the wife of a Marine veteran who was in green card proceedings because her mother had missed an immigration hearing years before, triggering removal orders against the entire family. Also in New Orleans, federal agents arrested at least 15 workers in a raid on a construction site for a major and long-delayed flood control project. New Orleans, as a reminder, is prone to disastrous flooding. This is preposterous. This is preposterous. In Nashville, Tennessee, an undocumented woman who was detained by ICE while pregnant suffered a stillbirth after allegedly being denied adequate medical care in ICE custody. In Atlanta, Georgia, an undocumented migrant who entered the country in 2004 and has gained a large following as a reporter covering ICE raids was arrested while reporting on a No Kings protest earlier this month. ICE promptly detained him and began deportation proceedings. In Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a 2-year-old girl who happens to be a U.S. citizen was deported along with her undocumented parents to Brazil, where she is now the undocumented one. She has no right to routine pediatric checkups in Brazil's public healthcare system, the Washington Post reported. She cannot easily enroll in a Brazilian school or daycare, and she's living on a temporary tourism visa that is set to expire in weeks. Guys, this is just the tiniest little taste of the damage that these fascists have brought. This is directly because of Stephen Miller and Donald Trump. Stephen Miller saying minimum 3,000 deportations per day. I don't care where you get them from. Go to Home Depots, go to 7-Elevens, go to work sites, go to farms. I don't care. This is the result. This is what it actually looks like in practice. What it looks like in practice is rounding up good, innocent, decent family people who work hard, don't bother anybody, have friends, part of the community. This is what it looks like. This is objectively horrific for this country. These are some of the best people in the fucking country. I don't know about you guys, but my experience is most of the immigrants I've been around, these are like the nicest, hardest working people ever. They don't fucking bother anybody, right? And they're getting the brunt of this because Stephen Miller is a fucking Nazi fascist asshole. And Donald Trump is the same. So this is literally like make America worse again is what we're witnessing here. It's just absolutely horrific. And again, this is just a little taste. You guys know all the other horror stories that we've gone over 1,000 times. One of these days I'll make a list of all the fucking nightmare stories. But it's just, they got to be arrested. Stephen Miller has to be arrested. Chrissy Noem has to be arrested. Trump has to be arrested. They just have to. They have to. To ruin this many lives, there's got to be some sort of justice for that. There's got to be some consequences for that. We cannot let them keep getting away with this. Again, litmus test for Democrats. In the next election, you have to be in favor of arresting these people for the immense horror that they've done and the countless illegal actions like blowing off court orders. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.